What's up? My name is Anthony, and welcome to another edition of BnA Sports Talk. Now, today I'm going to talk about something really controversial, especially with us Giants fans, whether Odell should get traded from the Giants to a different team. Now, let's start off with why the Giants would trade Odell. They would trade him because, one, they're looking for a rebuild, and usually with teams, the number 1, 2, or 3 wide receiver in the league does not win Super Bowls. The last one to do that, I think, was Marvin Harrison with the Colts. That usually doesn't happen, although they've come close, and although you can make an argument either way. I think the Giants see that, and especially with the new quarterback coming in, they want to trade Odell for a high value to a team that's looking for a number 1 guy to help somebody else. Also, why they would trade him, there have been rumors swirling for so many years, and there's a high market for him. So you can have different teams bidding for him. As you'll see, so many teams want him. Even if they don't need him, a lot of teams want him because the way he can impact the game is crazy. His heart, his soul, and the way he can be a leader in the locker room, it's insane. And he's also been injured recently, so that's why you would trade him. You sell him high just in case he gets injured again. If he gets injured one more time, he's going to be labeled injury prone. Anyway, so why you wouldn't trade him? Okay, Odell is your number 1 asset. He'll ease the new quarterback into the Giants. And plus, he counts so much against the cap this year. Why would you trade him when he counts so much against the cap? You're basically paying him for nothing, like the Steelers are doing it. Nobody likes that, the whole ordeal with the Steelers. Okay, now let's go into the process of how I eliminated teams that are looking for Odell. So there are a couple of eliminating criteria completely, and then I also brought some teams back based on, other factors. So eliminating completely at first the division rivals and the rivals. So the Jets, Cowboys, Eagles, and Redskins. You're not trading for that. I initially put the Patriots in here, but there are other reasons why I brought them back. Also, teams that are not looking for number 1 wide receivers. Having 2 number 1 wide receivers is great, but you're going to have to pay about $40 million for wide receivers, and teams know that doesn't win championships. So those teams include A.J. Green and the Bengals, the Buccaneers, the Raiders now, a lot of other teams that I'm forgetting. DeAndre Hopkins and the Texans. There are those teams, and then there are also the teams that are in bad locations, like the Bills, maybe the Steelers, the Green Bay Packers. Nobody are rushing to those teams because of their location. It's really cold, and I think the Antonio Brown effect is going to happen, and Odell is not going to want to go to those teams. And Odell, even though they can get high value for it, I think Odell is not going to like it, and we'd kind of look bad if we gave him to those teams. Okay, so another one is whether the team has a lot of draft stock. So the Bears and Seahawks don't have a lot of draft stock. We're going to need, especially the Bears, they're not even looking for a number 1 wide receiver either, but, they don't have a lot of draft stock. The Giants are going to want a lot of draft compensation. Also, teams that don't have a lot of money to spend, like the Bears and maybe the Buccaneers, they don't really have a lot of money to spend on Odell, so they're not going to want to bring him into the locker room. Also, the final limiting factor I had was whether it's in their plans or not. So the teams like the Colts and the Ravens, I think that they're building for something else. And also with the Vikings, I think they're building for something else. Plus, they already have their wide receivers and they're paying them a lot. So those are the teams pretty much that I have eliminated. I might have forgotten 1 or 2. But the teams that I have that are looking for a quarterback and have a lot of these factors that the Giants could trade for, the 49ers, the Patriots, the Rams, the Panthers, the Jaguars, and the Broncos, I think are all of them. If I forgot one, I'll put it on the screen anyway. So let's start off with the Patriots. The Patriots have 12 draft picks this year. They're going to look for a stable piece to continue the Odell transition. the transition of quarterbacks. Although, it's a kind of division rival, I think the Giants can get a lot for this. I know the Giants, if they would have made the trade, they want to make the trade, they would have made the trade last year. But it's a really viable spot for Odell to go, especially this offseason. He'll be happy. I think Odell needs a change of scenery. That's one of the factors I forgot to mention why you would trade him. Sometimes, after all these rumors swirl, you need a change of scenery. You need somewhere to kind of restart fresh. Odell has kind of had this pattern of, whether it was a kicking net or proposing to the kicking net or the dog thing, peeing on the field. No, he didn't pee on the field. He'd pretend like he was a dog and he peed on the field. But all those factors, like, eventually need a new change of scenery. The 49ers, location. This also played into the part with the Rams, even though they don't have a lot of draft stock. But the 49ers, I think you can flesh out a good deal. For example, the 49ers are not going to be willing to give away their first-round draft pick this year because that's a huge asset. But what if you say, hey, give us Solomon Thomas. I know he's been panning out. Maybe you try to develop him. Then you also get a first-rounder next year and a second-rounder. You get a first-rounder next year plus a third-rounder, and then you get this year's second-rounder just to chip out Odell. I think you can get way more value of that, especially a first-rounder next year, because the 49ers, they're probably going to pick in the top 15 next year. So that'd be a good asset. Plus, you get to develop Solomon Thomas because you got rid of Olivier Vernon. You can replace that. You can help the defense right away. And you can even draft a quarterback next year. Okay, so I think that'd be I think the Giants would take that, and I think the 49ers would take that because Nick Bosa would be able to replace Solomon Thomas right away. Anyway, so the next team, the Panthers, they're looking for a wide receiver. Cam is probably not playing next year, so this may be a deal 2 years away. But you need, especially with getting rid of Devin Funchess, you need Cam. You need to give Cam weapons. He's the future quarterback of this team for the next 7 years, I would say. So you need to give Cam some weapons. Plus the coach, I think Ron Rivera would be able to try. He'd be like, hey, I can work my magic on Odell. I know what I'm doing. And plus they have a 15th pick this year. They're probably going to pick high next year. So you can say you'll give us next year's first round and second rounder or something like that. And Odell, the Panthers, I think could work. I think, especially in that locker room, the culture that they have there, I think it's a really viable option. The Rams, they're known to pick a lot of free agents. They'll go all in on Odell because they want to win. They want to win real bad. Imagine Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham Jr. and all those players. I think that's a good deal. The Rams, imagine him in LA, location, like I've been mentioning. So the next team I want to talk about is the Denver Broncos. I think the Denver Broncos think, especially John Elway, thinks he has a Super Bowl winning team this year. I think that's why he brought Joe Flacco in. So you give him Odell. You know, Eli and Odell, they had a good connection. Give him Odell. Remember a couple years ago when Eli was in his prime, how much he was flinging it to Odell? I think the Broncos really think that they're in Super Bowl contention this year. They have a decent amount of money to spend. Location isn't great, but I think Odell would be happy there. The Broncos need a number one wide receiver. I'd probably rank this 7 on the list of all teams, but it's still a possibility. You have a Super Bowl caliber defense, and why not? And I think the final team I'll mention is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Unless I forgot a team, then I'll put it in. But the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're ready to compete for a Super Bowl. The only thing is they don't have a lot of money to spend. They just paid Nick Foles. They're bringing in some other defensive players. They wouldn't have a lot of money for Odell to spend, but Tom Coughlin has a soft heart for the Giants, so I think he'll give the Giants a lot of their whatever they have, like their draft picks, everything, because Tom Coughlin knows he needs to win. He knows he needs to at least go to the AFC Championship this year, at least make a run for the Super Bowl this year. He knows that, so why not go all in on Odell? Remember, Tom Coughlin is when he had Odell had his best seasons. Remember him, Eli, and Odell? I think it was 2 seasons, or maybe it was only 1 season with Odell, but Odell was breaking all these rookie records. Tom Coughlin will be like, you know what? Let's bring him in. Location's pretty great. Jacksonville, South Beach, whatever. I said Miami wouldn't like him, even though it's a great location, but that's just not a part of their plans. Jacksonville, why not? I think the locker room is great for him. You have Jalen Ramsey, AJ Boye. You have the boys. It's just the only thing I can see is the money problem. The money, being able to pay him that well, it's gonna be kind of tough. Do you think if they draft Odell, their Super Bowl window is officially 3 years? They have 3 years to win a Super Bowl. You have the Patriots going out, but you have the teams like the Chiefs. I think the Chargers are going to drop off a little bit. You have teams like the Chiefs and the Ravens and the Browns that are coming up. But I think this is the perfect time for them to shoot their shot. And a team I forgot to mention is the Lions. But of all teams, this is probably the least likely. But Matt Stafford needs a number one weapon. He hasn't had a number one weapon since Calvin Johnson. The Lions are spending this year a lot on defense. They got rid of Golden Tate last year, and I think the Lions it's a legitimate shot that they can move for an Odell, because they have the 9th pick this year. And if they don't fall in love with anybody, and on defense, hey, give Matt Stafford an offensive weapon. Hey, we haven't won a playoff game in like 25 years. We won one playoff game in the past 6 years. Let's give Matt Stafford the best opportunity to succeed, because I think he's only going down from here. It's his 9th or 10th year in the league, and he hasn't really done much so far. I mean, he's led the league in passing a lot of times, but those haven't translated to playoff wins, obviously, because he hasn't won a playoff game yet. I think Matt Patricia, he's trying to build a defensive culture, but if you bring in an Odell, you have a decent amount of money to spend. You have $60 million before they started signing everybody. I'm not sure where it's at now, but Odell to the Lions is definitely a real possibility. Only questions I have are whether Matt Patricia would actually do it, and whether the location for Odell is great. Anyway, let me know what you guys think, whether the Giants should trade Odell. I'm not full in, but I'm not full out. If we get like that 49ers trade, if we get 2 first-rounders and we can build up the defense, we're not winning. No number 1 wide receiver wins championships. That's the bottom line. No number 1 wide receiver wins championships. And if we can get amazing value for Odell and build up our defense, because it's really struggling right now, I think I'd do it. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.